those of you who saw it's been, when they say when it rains, it pours, it's been pouring cats and dogs here. I carefully wrote out my email, sent it out to everybody, and then discovered that my broadcasting station will not connect to the internet. So I thought, well, maybe something, it wouldn't connect to either internet that we have, wouldn't connect to our phone hotspots. So there's something wrong with the Wi-Fi signal, right? So I can fix that. I'm going to connect directly on Ethernet. So we went to Walmart to get a 50-foot Ethernet cable. They don't have any. Went to Meijer to get one. The longest one they have is 33 feet. I need at least 50. I would have bought anything that was bigger than that, because then I could have just ran a cable on the floor out to the modem and hooked it up. And if that computer had a bad Wi-Fi signal device, whatever kind of component it is, it would have bypassed it. Okay, so I can't do that. Now what do? I'll broadcast from this machine, because this machine is connecting to the internet. Oh, lordy. And then I sent you guys a bad link. There was a bad link on the dashboard. So Kathy Fenner, Diana Kistner, and Sharon Fox, you get hands up for following through and being here with me. I appreciate it like you don't understand. Because the other problem is that on YouTube, the comments have been disabled. Who disabled the comments? I don't think I did, but maybe there's something on this machine. I haven't broadcast on this machine since 2020, so it could be a problem, right? So I'm going to do something a little bit risky. I'm not going to do it up on text. If you are listening to me on YouTube right now, pick up a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'm going to give you my personal phone number, and you can text me, and I will get your question answered that way. And for the next time, I'm just going to have to figure out why this machine, it hooks up and it does that. I don't know. Oh, could it be something? No, it's not something in there. I don't know why I don't have connections, but I prepared a simple basic lesson for you guys because I was desperate. So I figure one thing I can do would be to do a little basics program, and I am going to start putting all these basic lessons inside a course for members of the Raw Cooking Journey. So you'll be able to go back and replay them, right? So let's do a lesson. Let's not waste this time together. In the meantime, if you're thinking of a question, if you're here on Zoom, make sure you put it in the chat. If you are on YouTube, the chat is disabled for whatever reason. It should not be, but it is. Listen up. I asked you to get a paper and pencil a few minutes ago. Write down this phone number, 419-287-3884. It's no real big mystery. It's my personal phone number. And I've got my phone handy here, and you can text me your questions, and we will get around that problem that way. Okay? So let me do the lesson, and then if you have further questions, just be sure to send me a text if you're watching on YouTube. We'll find a way around it, no matter what. It's usually more professional than this, but I've had some technical issues. So let's start a beginner lesson. I'm going to mute everybody, and then once that is taken care of, mute all, I'm going to get into it and we'll get started, and then hopefully you'll have some questions for me by then. Enter them in the chat on Zoom or text them to me at 419-287-3884. Okay, let's get started. Let me do one more setting here on, oh, this one doesn't even have the focus mode. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight mine. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, lordy. Okay, it's just slow. Okay. So when you're a beginner, one of the first things you have to choose is a backing. What backing are you going to use? And I was first introduced to, here it is, burlap. Okay, not the best. Even if they call it Scottish, I don't care what they call it. Burlap is burlap. It has a certain rate at which it will decompose, and it's way too fast for a hooked rug. Not worth your time and trouble. They'll often call it Angus too. Still, I don't care what kind of fancy name you give it, it's still burlap. It might have a looser weave, it might have a more even weave, but it's still going to decay at the same rate. So you really don't want to spend your time hooking into burlap. If you find a burlap pattern like at a garage sale or a rug hooking flea market, and you love the design and the price is right, buy it, trace it off, and put it on new backing, but be sure to destroy the original. Okay, that's important to protect the copyright so that someone doesn't find it in your belongings many years later and they hook it, because that would be a violation of the copyright. So the other one I do not recommend is monk's cloth. Okay, monk's cloth, you will identify it by these white lines. Bad. You don't want white lines. It also has a 2x2 weave, and what happens is the beginner will put her hook through those two threads and you can't get the loop out. Okay, you don't need the frustration of monk's cloth. I do not recommend that for beginners. Okay, what I do recommend for beginners is rug warp. Okay, rug warp is 100% cotton. It hypoallergenic, right? Because it's cotton. It has holes in it that it's just a 1x1 weave, and your hook is not as likely to get stuck. It's also going to hold your loops a little bit tighter, so as you pull up the next loop, it's not as likely that the loop before will pull out. Okay, it does happen that way on linen, and I've lost my serging, so I got to fix this one. But on linen, it's a little bit more loosey-goose. You can tell even the serging didn't hold. It tends to rack a little bit more than what rug warp does, but there's lots and lots of people who use linen every day and love it. The thing that you need to know about linen is not all linens are created equally. So you might find a linen from somebody that's really nice and expect to order it from the next vendor on linen. You're going to get something completely different. So there's lots and lots of different kinds of linen out there. Luckily, there's really only one rug warp. So if you fall in love with it, you know that it's going to stay the same for a very long time. Now, standard rug warp usually comes 58 inches wide. I carry a larger one, 75 inches wide, mainly because if you're hooking smaller rugs, you can get 2 rugs out of a 1-yard piece. On 58 inches, you can get like 1.5. So you'll actually lose yardage if you are using the skinnier one and your rugs are not big enough to fill up the whole 58 inches. So rug warp is a little bit cheaper than linen. For now, prices are flipping and flopping and going all over the place, but linen is a little bit more expensive than what rug warp is. I find that beginners have better luck with rug warp because it sticks to the grippers and it holds that loop a little bit tighter. I also recommend Rugwarp if you are an animal lover, if you are cohabitating with animals. Rugwarp rugs will perform better on the ground with animals than a linen rug will. With foot traffic, I noticed that some of my linen rugs, the tails would flop down. Little things would happen that never happen on my Rugwarp rugs. So it's just a matter of what you prefer to use. I do not sell linen on my website, but I sell plenty of Rugwarp. In fact, I got a couple orders back there that I got to fill. The next thing that comes into question is cut size. What is cut size? How does cut size work? Here's a little thing that I made up. You don't need to buy anything special. I recommend you just do something like this. I happen to have it pulled through a piece of probably natural wool. You could pull it through a small piece of backing. You could glue it to cardboard. It doesn't really matter. However you want to do it. But what I did is I cut each size, and this is something that you might have to have maybe a more experienced rug hooker do for you, who has all the cutter blades, or when you're at an event, have a piece of wool in your pocket. And if you don't have an 8.5, you can maybe find somebody who does have an 8.5 and get asked to use their cutter, to cut your sample piece. And then just label it. I labeled it with just a Sharpie marker, and I tied knots in the back to keep that in there. But this was helpful for me to use when I'm working with beginners. And what I'll do is I'll fold it like this so that the strips are going right across the fold. And you can then lay this on a pattern. And I can use this to demonstrate why some patterns are number 3s only. Some patterns you can hook up to a 6. Other patterns you can hook any size you want. It has to do with, will that loop fit? And you just fold this down and put it on the pattern and see. They do sell a little metal thing that you can get. I don't remember how much they are, but you don't really need it. This is really all that you need. So let's see what's going on. Let's see if we've got questions. Oops, I lost that again. Chat. Hi, Kathy in Wisconsin. I don't have anything in the chat from the Zoom viewers, and I haven't received any text. Okay, there's one no idea that came in yesterday, so it's not from any of you guys. But send your text in a question, since for whatever reason my YouTube chat is turned off. I did not intend that to happen. But you can send a question to 419-287-3884. Okay, Zoom people, any questions? And Kathy, we haven't met before, have we? I don't recognize your name. Okay. Oh, Kathy says, no questions right now, but she just signed up for the journey. Well, welcome to the group. Normally, I don't have these kinds of tech issues, but today I have multiple tech issues. So yeah, it's hitting me with a double whammy. No chat on YouTube, which there should be a chat, because how else am I going to get your questions? No internet at where I normally broadcast, which is why I'm broadcasting from this view, on a very old iMac, with the built-in camera and the built-in microphone. Nothing fancy. it'll be interesting to see the recording, to see how bad the quality is compared to my better cameras.
It's not too bad, Cindy.
Well, I'm recording it directly from from the built-in camera, so. But it'll be interesting to see what YouTube sees. Ugh.
Did you have storms that took things out?
No, it just I don't know if I've got a, you know how you can turn your Wi-Fi on and off?
Yeah.
It's acting as if the Wi-Fi's off even though it says it's on and it's connected. But when I go to the internet, it says no internet. So something has gone seriously wrong. So I don't know what's up with that. But I'll look into it. We should have a break between this one and the Saturday Hook-In that starts at 4 p.m., which you're all welcome to join, even the people who are on YouTube, you are welcome to join me for that Hook-In. Fingers crossed, maybe I will have it figured out by then. The Hook-In is more of like a social gathering. Imagine you're at the neighborhood church in the basement with all your hooking friends, and what kind of conversations come up. Sometimes it's rug hooking, sometimes it's chocolate chip cookie recipes, sometimes it's whatever the dogs are doing or what your husbands are doing or that kind of thing. So we find comfort in listening to each other's stories, or at least I do. And I'm sure you guys do here. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones of us that have been here for a long time.
Yes, Diana, and you're one of the ones who have been with me one of the longest, for sure. Sharon and Donna too. I don't know if you all started around the same time, but
Donna was a little later, I know. I think Sharon was with us from the beginning.
could be.
Yes, I think I was.
Yeah.
I think I was.
I actually started in 2016, and
Yeah, but there.
what's that?
I wasn't there then.
Were you?
No.
No, you weren't. Okay.
No.
And I was trying all different kinds of things. I tried like Google Hangouts, and I didn't have the internet speed for that. I tried some very expensive ones, and luckily I only paid for like 1 month. And once I found it didn't work, I canceled it, got the balance of my money back. But the one person who kind of like followed me around and was sure I was always there was Star Burgess. She
Yep.
was there in the
Yes.
beginning, and when I started doing YouTube lives, she was like the only person who was there. And it was okay, because what I was learning was how to do the technology. And thank God for that proving ground, so to speak, because I was going to say I would have totally freaked if what happened today happened. But I did freak today when it happened. But I knew some of the solutions that I might not have known before. But yeah, there was no saving that. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to everything down, bring it back up, see what's going on, and see if we can get things figured out once and for all. But it makes no sense, because we have 2 internet connections, and everything in the house can connect to both of them except that computer. So it's clearly something with that computer, which that's not brand new, relatively new, since COVID new.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Had
think
a couple of them since COVID.
Yeah, I was trying to think, because this one fell off. Actually, this exact machine from this exact location fell off my table and broke during a live broadcast. That was fun. But yeah. Okay, so no questions in YouTube. Nothing in there. What else does a new beginner need to know? You guys can help me out. What does a new beginner need to know?
I'm trying to think because there was a new beginner on Facebook probably last week because I haven't been on since I had a house full of company. Uh, and I'm trying to. But backing was one of them.
Yeah.
I kind of chit-chatted back with her about.
And I already have, I think, 2 YouTube videos. But let's talk about what rug hooking, at least our kind of rug hooking, is not, since I discovered this in my little toolkit. This is latch hook canvas.
Latch hook.
This is not traditional rug hooking. This is not a rug hook. This is a latch hook, and you can identify it by, I'm trying to cover my face because the camera is seeking for my face to focus. It has that little latch thing. Can you rug hook with this? One of my favorite rug hookers, Rochelle LeBlanc, hooks with this, but I don't recommend it for a beginner. It's also not this, okay? This is a locker hook, okay?
Oh, that's the locker hook.
And you also use this kind of backing for it. But why they call it locker hooking is because you go in, you pull up a loop, you don't take your hook out. You go back in, you pull up another loop, you don't take your hook out. You go in, you pull up another loop, and you don't take your hook out. So now you've got all these loops on your hook, and then you pull this through it, hence it locks it in so it doesn't pull out. Locker hook is usually, when I see it, most commonly done with print fabric. So if you have a big stash of quilter fabric, hopefully something long, not little tiny blocks, but that you could do locker hooking with these particular things. So that's what rug hooking is not. But that's easier to define than what rug hooking is, I find, because nowadays rug hooking can be almost anything. We've got people hooking with yarn, with cut wool strips, combining wool and cut wool strips, using non-wool fabric such as silk, or even I've used for a student who was hooking a Halloween rug, and she wanted the witch's costume to be shiny. We snuck a couple of inches off the garbage bag that was in the room, and she cut those into strips and hooked with that, and it worked beautifully. It's not going to be soft on your feet. It's not going to wear nearly as long, but what can she do when it deteriorates? Rehook it. And she knows exactly where to get that fabric. So it works out good. Oh, here's a good one from Kathy Fenner. She said, I'm a new rug hooker. I took a class years ago, but never finished the project. Was waiting to retire about 2 more years for more time, but decided life is too short to wait. Alleluia. Because none of us have an expiration date stamped on our foot that says when we're going to expire. So if that's something you're interested, Kathy, I am so glad you decided not to wait. And that's why I do a lot of this stuff on Saturday, is for people who work full-time, so they can still get to some of the classes and lessons and things along that line. Vanessa has joined us, and Donna. Hello, guys. Do you guys have any questions from a beginner? My YouTube, we have, about a dozen people watching on YouTube, but for whatever reason, the YouTube chat is turned off. That was not my intention, but it is what it is, and that's the way it's working. So I'm not able to get questions from YouTube unless they text me. Okay, and if you are listening to me on YouTube and you have a question and you're like, oh, I wanted to ask it, text the question to 419-287-3884. Okay, Vanessa, did you say something?
Yeah, I have a question. So
Yeah.
I get wool And most of the time, I know if it's been washed in full or if it hasn't. But sometimes I stack it up and I forget which has and hasn't. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
I wash it and kind of pull it again, there's not a problem because I can't, sometimes I just can't tell.
Right. No, it's not a problem if you wash it again, usually. Wool will continue to felt up every time you wash it. So, unless it felted up a lot, you can wash it again. But here's my tip. The method that I use, because I got crap coming in and going all different places, I never know what's coming and going sometimes. So what I'll do is I rip it off the bolt and then I fold it and I put it on the shelf. If I take it out, take the tag off, put it in the washer to be washed and dried, when I am folding it, I snip it into 1/16 of a yard pieces. If it's snipped, it's washed. And I know that for a fact. It's just one of those rules that I will never, ever, ever break because it'll make me crazy. So if it comes out of the dryer, I do that. There is a video. If it's not on YouTube, it's in
The basics.
it's thank you. Okay, it's in the basics course. So for members, it's available there. Go to the basics course and you know how to cut it into 60. It's just a special way of folding it, snipping it, and folding it and snipping it. You have to do it twice on each side of a yard piece. The biggest mistake people make is they try to do the whole yard at once. And it's one of those, how many times can you fold paper? This is like, how many times can you fold wool? You're not going to get, even pieces if you try to do it with all 16 at once. So you're going to do half a yard, snip, snip, snip. There's 3 snips. And then let it go, and then do the other half yard the same way. There should be a video in the basics course. You can look at that and see if that makes sense.
And that's also a good way, when you are a beginner, to figure out what color might work, because you can just pull off 1/16 and lay it there with other colors without cutting the whole yard.
Right. And the 1/16, it comes to about a 3-inch strip. That is the biggest that I recommend you go to your cutter with. So if you try to put like a whole half yard through, it's going to twist and turn. It's going to get off the straight of grain. It's going to get, problems with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kathy Fenner says, something I never even thought about. I've been buying wool for years already cut. That's going to be your most expensive piece of wool because whoever's selling it to you is charging you for cutting it. I have lots of videos, I know in the membership, but probably even one on YouTube about how to cut it just by ripping off a 1-inch piece and then cutting it with scissors. I'd rather you do that than buy already cut wool. What I found happens is that people who sell already cut wool tend to sell it unwashed, which is shame on you because you know that rug hooker's not going to enjoy that wool. Or they're using bad quality wool. That's their way of liquidating their bad quality wool. And I know that because I bought more than one kit when I first started. And I was almost ready to give up rug hooking until I realized, luckily, what happened is I started hooking and then Solder Village event was 2 weeks after I started. So I was able to see what good quality rug hooking wool is. And good quality rug hooking wool and clothing wool are not always the same. So what's good for clothing is not necessarily why it's good for the other. So Kathy is saying, is that why sometimes when I was using a number 8 cut, it would shred? I'm not sure what that was that either bad quality or unwashed. Yeah, that's why you want to buy it. Your best bet is to buy yardage or half yards for the most part. I sell a piece down to a 16th of a yard, mainly because when I am teaching a class, I would say, okay, let's pick out 5 different reds and hook this red flower. Well, that doesn't make sense. If you have to buy 5 half yards, I don't feel comfortable recommending that method. But for me, that's my favorite way to hook, with a lot of different colors. So that way you can buy just a 16th of a yard, keep the cost down, and get everything that you need to get. Yeah. Stay with trusted sources. You know, we like the Wool Studio. Heavens to Betsy, unfortunately, has gone out of business. Door Mill is another trusted source. And then you're going to have to go by individual teachers. Some teachers aren't as picky as I am. I will not buy Woolrich. I don't like the feel of Woolrich. It's cheaper. And I can sell it to you the same price I sell Door Mill wool, but I don't want to hook with it. And I want to make sure that every single piece that's on my shelf is a piece that I want to hook with. Otherwise, why should I have it in the studio? Yeah, Kathy says, I will keep that in mind. Lately, I've been going to wool rug hookers to get wool. Yeah, you got to trust your source. What's that person's philosophy? Are they hand dyeing their own wool? Are they selling textures? Will they share with you where they get them from? If it's the Wool Studio and Door Mill, I don't see why they would not share that with you. If it's somewhere else, I'd be a little bit skeptical, because I've bought wool. I did that. I've been hooking for 25 years. I did that back in the day. I know that there are cheaper places to go, but I also know that if you get a piece of wool that only costs you $10 a yard, it's worth nothing if you can't hook with it. So, and I had a friend who she stopped at a warehouse, she bought 300 yards of wool, and she thought she was set for life. Turns out the wool was worsted wool. So the way I want you to remember that is worsted wool is the worst. It will not felt up. It doesn't change when you do it, which is why it's good for clothing. You do not want to hook with that. So it's Door Wool. Kathy, you are free to click your microphone and just ask me these questions, but she's asking in the chat, Door Wool and who? I missed it. It's Door Wool and the Wool Studio. Those are the 2 sources that I recommend and that I've bought from in the past. And if the wool that they have is not up to the highest standard, for the most part, they will tell you that before you buy it. So sometimes you'll get things that you'll see on the sample flyers that you get, that this wool is thin and doesn't felt up wool. Well, if you're one of the people like me who like thicker rather than thin, you'll probably skip over that wool. And you always want to look at a washed sample. So if someone is offering wool and they are not sending you a washed sample, you cannot evaluate it properly. So you might have to wash the samples. Door Mill is one who sends out unwashed samples. So then I have to pin tags on them, throw them in the washer, and see what they look like washed, because if they don't wash up well, I don't want them in the studio.
Searsport is another one that's reliable.
Is it?
They have, they have both washed and unwashed, and theirs mostly comes from Door. So, Old Tattered Flag too.
Okay.
I've ordered from that. they are very reliable.
Okay. I will say, and I heard this from Rebecca Erb directly. Rebecca Erb founded the Wool Studio, that there are times when they get a shipment in and it's not up to standard. And they say, we're not paying for this. This has, this cannot be, you need to redo it. You need to fix this. Well, what happens, instead of shipping that way back overseas, that goes to what they call a jobber. And these jobbers, because I've gotten the phone calls, we've got some wool and it's great wool. It's just like what the Wool Studio carries. It is, except it's the ones that they rejected. And unfortunately, some of the stores out there will buy the rejected wool that the Wool Studio has rejected, and so that means it's at a lower standard. And you just have to be aware of that, and make sure that you trust who you're buying it from.
What happened to the wool that they were adding something else to just, a few years ago? Remember? I don't know whether Rebecca had it or who had it, because I know we were all kind of waiting to see how it was.
Oh, that I don't know. I
haven't seen it advertised for quite a while.
Okay.
So maybe it didn't.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being received too warmly on the rug hooking front.
I don't know whether Donna would remember or not.
Was that, Diana, was that the wool that they said you didn't have to wash?
I think so, Sharon.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wasn't it, about a couple of years ago?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because I know Sue bought a little of it and she didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of people trying to reinvent not only wool, but backings too. And usually they don't go over too good. I haven't found a new thing that it's been like, yes, that's perfect. So
Yeah.
stick with the tried and true. There are times, being able to see it and feel it and, have it right in front of you. That's the ultimate best. And I know that can't happen for everyone. And I'll get a phone call and someone will say, I live in the middle of Timbuktu. I don't have any rug cooking stores around me. Well, I don't think there's any rug cooking stores anywhere around me, probably within a couple 100-mile radius. But I know there's rug cooking teachers. So if you're looking to buy wool and you want to touch it and feel it, contact a rug cooking teacher and go at it that way. Now, how do you find a rug cooking teacher who's near you? The easiest website I found, or the most current website that has that information, I think would be the McGowan-Guild.com website. And it's spelled McGown. And then Guild, GUILD.com. They have a teacher directory. I think they popped teachers out of it. They used to put teachers in it as they got their accreditation, and then they would stay there. So I've been told that I've been dropped from the list because I haven't been back to Teachers Workshop in a few years. So if that's the case, that's unfortunate for the rug cooking community because I'm not the only one. So what means is that lots of names have been taken off and made it harder for you to find someone who might have a stash that they're selling from. So that's the downside with that. You can always Google rug cooking near me, and that will show you, any websites that have it, but not every rug cooking teacher has a website, although they should. And if you are within the sound of my voice and you are a rug cooking teacher and you don't have a website, contact me. I am putting together a program for rug cooking teachers. And one of the things I want to concentrate on is helping rug cooking teachers get websites, because there's a lot of good rug cooking teachers out there who don't have websites. And I could show you how to set up a website 100% free. So, and then we can do it for a little bit of a price, like $15 a year, or we can do it full blown. It just sort of depends. Lovely. Thanks, Kat. She used the text feature. She said, what should the wool look like after it's washed? For me, and what qualities are essential? For me, what I want to see is I want to see that the wool has shrunk. It's gotten fluffier. It'll help the fact that it's shrunk and the fibers are kind of felted into each other will help your strip stay in place. Okay, and Donna says that is how I found you before you started your live or online classes. Yeah. Yeah, Google has done a pretty fair job, although it kicked me out of first place and kicked me right down to the bottom. And I still haven't figured out what it doesn't like about my website, but that's okay.
I know with a lot of times with Google, if you don't post stuff like they have a algorithm, and if you don't meet that algorithm, you just fall off. That used to happen in my law firm all the time.
Yeah.
And I just got it and said, "The heck with it."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty active on YouTube, but on the rest of them, I need to do a blog post. I think the last one I did was in April. So, thanks, Donna.
Atha would be another place.
Atha would be, yeah. As we're saying that, I wonder if I Googled rug hooking near me, would our new guild show up? I'm going to have to check into that and find out if our new guild shows up on the search, because it should. If you're in Northwest Ohio, you should be able to find our new guild, the Black Swamp Rug Hookers. And that is a guild, quite frankly, that is open to everybody, no matter where you are, because every meeting, if we have the ability, we didn't have the ability. We met in a state park and sat outside and hooked. We did not have the ability to broadcast that meeting. But when we are in our normal location, we have a Zoom component, meaning you can Zoom in and hook with us in the beginning. You can be on the Zoom and hooking with us and then stick around for the business meeting. And you can join that guild. Anybody. We have members. Donna's a member. She's in Canada. We have people all over, up in Michigan and Ohio, and I'm trying to think where else some of the other places are. Several people out west. They're basically people we've met at Rug Camp, and they want to hang out with us. So I'm the vice president. Rita Thomas is president. Kim Hurt is treasurer.
Secretary.
Yeah, and Joni Brunkhorst is the secretary. So
I need to get busy and join.
Yeah.
And Rebecca does membership.
Yeah. And Rebecca Landon does our membership. Yeah.
You should join us, Diana.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I've just been lazy, Donna.
I know.
It's a whopping.
Well, I try and go, but unfortunately I can't go to any of the outside events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're planning like trips to the art museum. We have a member who is a docent at the Toledo Museum of Art. So we tried it once, and it turned out there was a huge festival that weekend, and it was the same Saturday we were going to go, and it didn't work out. But we have very talented members. Sue has taught us how to spin, how to use a lucette. Did I say that right? Okay.
Yep, you did.
So there's a lot of different little things, that are interesting. We're still too young. We're still too small. But eventually what we'll be doing is bringing in teachers. We've already got a couple of them picked out. We'll be bringing in teachers to teach just to guild members. So that's always something to kind of watch out for, and that's going to be a whole lot cheaper than going to any rug camp. But we've got to build up our reserves and our membership first. Okay.
Well, it's not an expensive guild to belong to.
Yeah.
But you have to belong to ATHA. Well, most of us belong to ATHA, I think, anyway.
Right.
And then I think, is it $15 US?
Yes.
Yes.
I-
Yes. For the whole year.
Yeah, it's some I don't remember offhand, so I don't want to quote
I'm
anything,
pretty
but
sure that's what it was. It's not expensive.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick,
And we meet once a month, and you hook with everybody for the afternoon, and then they have the business meeting, of course, when most people are off work.
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately, some of them still have to maintain that job, you know.
They have to pay for their hobby.
Well, that's right. You have to pay for your hobby, and it's nice to eat once in a while, and maybe
Yeah,
have a good margarita or something. You
There
know?
you go. There you go. Okay, I am totally out of questions. So if anyone has any questions, you can, if you're here with me on the Zoom, put it in the chat. If you are watching me on YouTube, you can text me at 419-287-3884. And I'm not giving away a secret phone number because it's on my website, but you can always do that. Put your name with it though, so I know who you are, because obviously I might not have your name in my address book, so I won't know who I'm talking to. Okay, so I know YouTube is behind us quite a bit. And I will try to figure out what has happened to YouTube, or it could be just this computer. Once I get back to my other computer, it might be just fine. But I don't know why I got the chat turned off. I mean, I cannot think of any good reason for that to be turned off.
Well, maybe they updated something and it automatically did.
I'm more inclined to believe that this system is way out of date than anything else, because this is usually my accounting computer and I don't use it for much of anything else. And it's older. Okay.
Well, if you want to let us go, so you can figure it out, and we'll be back at 4.
I think that's about what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, we're all coming up for the hook-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back.
I hope everyone can join us.
Yep.
I'm going to be there.
Okay.
It's
Same
too hot
place.
anyway.
Yes, Kathy, exactly the same place. Just go to the live events dashboard and click on the Saturday hook-in. And then I will see you there.
Okay.
And you don't have to be a member of anything to come to that hook-in. It's just it's a wide open hook-in. Anybody can come.
Exactly. Okay. So,
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
okay. Well, I got one question in. Last minute
Okay.
question. It just popped up on my screen. Isn't the process of dyeing the same as washing the wool as far as it felting and shrinking? Yes. In order to dye wool, when you're done, you have to wash it. So, yeah. So you wash it exactly the same way, like you would wash a pair of blue jeans. I usually use cold water for the new modern wools. Back in the day, we had to use hot, but use cold water for all the new wools that are getting woven, and then put it into a regular dryer. And I usually put it in with blue jeans, so the blue jeans kind of beat it around a little bit, and it all works out. Okay, ladies. I'll see you all at the
I'll be back.
hook-in.
Okay.
Saying
See you at 4.
saying prayers
Bye-bye.
for my system in the back. Fingers crossed.